Cressida Dick, yeah, she stepped down from Met Police Commissioner
Okay.
in London,
Mm.
and that's because the mayor said that he didn't have any faith in her after all, after the emergence of the stuff that came out in the Charing Cross briefings. So Charing Cross police station was under investigation
Mm.
because somebody put through claims of being sexually assaulted whilst they were in police custody. And when you look at some of the stuff that came out of the independent inquiry, it's
Mm.
shady, man. It took 4 years to get the investigation started, concluded, written up, and to put through their own individual findings, which is a bit
Okay.
worrying. Takes 4 years to put through something of that nature, but only on one police station. And what they basically found was there's an embedded culture of lag culture. I think that's the
L-
best way of saying it. So they
lad
talk
or
about
lag? Lad.
lad,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Lad. Yeah.
lad
Yeah.
behavior. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they talk about rape and homophobic language in the police and workforce.
Mm.
They exchange this via text messages. They have bullying, sexual harassment, normal harassment, people having sex at work, taking steroids, all being taken at the same police station in Charing Cross. And this is in mainstream central London, yeah. So it's not
Yeah. Like
it's
in the
not
heart of it,
anywhere
not
like
rural,
dodgy.
like in the middle of.
This is
Yeah.
this is next to Euston Station, yeah. It's pretty mixed with the amount of people that are going to come in and stuff. Yeah. So if that's in a place in central London, imagine how bad it gets on the outskirts of London where poorer communities live.
Yeah. Very little surveillance. There's going to be like things that happen
Yeah,
behind closed doors. No one talks about
yeah.
it.
So I would think it would get potentially better in central London because it's going to be
Right.
more accepting, more
So much
diverse. It's not,
visibility.
but it's not. Essentially, the whole report tells you that Black and Asian police officers spoke of being ostracized, and investigators uncovered messages mocking non-Christian religions, the Black Lives Matter movement, people with disabilities, racism, and homophobia. So it's like, okay, so new people who are Black and Asian coming to the police force, they get pushed
Mm.
out a little bit. So if they're being pushed out in central, what's it going to be like on the outskirts? And how can the guys who've been abused themselves in the system working for the police force expect to be part of helping out minorities and build up community collaboration, but simultaneously juggle the issue of feeling like the other? And it's like,
Mm.
shit, man, that's a lot to digest at once. And again, I need to stress this. It is one police station. There's
Mm.
hundreds of those across the UK.
Tip of the
What does
iceberg.
that tell you? It tells you that there's some real deep lying shit going on there. And there's a nature of
Mm.
this behavior just happening at the police level.
You know, as you're talking, I'm actually thinking I have a contact who is been in the police force for a long time, like 20 years plus. We could
Yeah.
get him on the podcast as a follow-up thing to talk about police culture. I think
Yeah,
that'd
we
be
can
really
talk about that
interesting.
off there. Yeah.
Mm. Um, so you talk about 2 points here. You're talking about the actual workforce themselves. So if you're a police officer and what you're experiencing, but then are you talking about people who are actually prisoners, essentially, who are there, they're being raped and things?
No. So the initial thing of rape was put forward by somebody who was in police custody. Yeah. That
Right.
opened up the
Okay.
independent inquiry. When they opened up the inquiry, they then
Correct.
saw that there's this deep lying behavior issues in the police force there, which
Mm.
includes things like sexual assault, harassment, etc., racism, homophobia
Between officers, you mean
between
about that?
co-workers and stuff. Yeah.
My God.
And yeah, it gets quite dark if you read a lot of the things. Obviously, I'm not going to say it now, but if you want to go looking for it, you can find a lot of the stuff in the police report.
It makes me think of do you remember when Matt Hancock got exposed for the whole kissing thing?
Why does it make you think of that?
No, as in like look at every level, there's a camera somewhere, right? And he okay, fine, he wasn't like having full on sex or everything, but he was still doing that at work. And then so when you say these things, it's like because you think, why would you do it there? And how would you do it there? And you think about all the ways these things can happen in a work environment. But people just be people, man. Like that's just and it's things we don't think about. We don't think these things happen because we don't see them happen. And it takes an inquiry to shed light on it. Now, the way you look at that is you think, bloody hell, man, like how is there trust within the system where
It diminishes your trust in any system, man. Like, no matter which part of the community you live in, whether it's upper class, middle class, lower class, you
mm,
don't trust the police with stuff like this because it's in there isn't any excuse you can have for a mainstream police station like this to have that sort of behavior happening.
mm,
There's no way that it can be put down to like lack of resources, lack of funding, lack of police officers. Like, no, this is simply the quality of people that you're attracting into your job, and it's in a
culture.
central place. Yeah,
But the culture hasn't changed. I think the other fallacy is that we always think, or I always think, we're 2022. These things used to happen. Surely they don't
yeah.
happen
You
now,
think it's a
right?
thing of the past, don't you?
But look, clearly not, man. I mean, 4 years, it sounds like pretty incriminating stuff. So, okay, so the main person stepped down. What about the people incriminated? Have we seen like a
So
mass
Cressida
exodus
Dick
of
has stepped down, obviously, because she's lost the backing of the mayor in London, Sadiq Khan, and yeah, I think that the people that were accused of it, one officer was fired, one left the force, but it
right?
shows obviously a wider problem at other police stations.
Incriminating. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the other ones that have been, checked out or anything like that, but a lot of this was just found out. They're so nonchalant with the stuff they're saying, they just send it over WhatsApp and whatnot, and those conversations were read and seen through, and you can see how deep this runs.
That's
It's
just not
dark,
fun.
man. It's dark because you think that these are your protectors, but it shows
Yeah.
that they're not really your protectors, are they?
I don't think that both things are mutually exclusive. I think you can still do good things, but
I think you can too, definitely, and there are
there still
examples
is a
of both.
darker
But
side
there
too.
needs to be like a bit of a cultural reset.
Cultural reset, and yeah, exactly, man. It's just code of conduct. That's what it comes down to, isn't it? Like professional code of conduct. Why we do these things at work. A lot of people do things in their own house. There's no cameras and there's no judgment. But yeah, to extend it further, man, and be what? How many people have been caught by WhatsApp, man? Like, just why would you do that? Why would you expose yourself?
Because
There's always somebody watching, man.
because okay, here's how it genuinely starts. It starts by one message that you send out that's a little bit on the line.
Banter.
Cool. Yeah. One thing's on the line. All right. Then you start taking it up a level, then upper level, then upper level. Then every day you're sending this because you think it's a normal place. And then you just keep pushing it and pushing it. It goes back to, I'm not drawing any similarity here. I need to make it clear. I'm not drawing a similarity to it. But do you remember the episode we had with Gutterman about the
abuse,
domestic violence, right? And it's like all he said was it's just inching towards an inevitable toxic bad behavior.
But when it starts, it doesn't feel.
But when it starts, it's something really small, and then it just starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that can happen in any pattern of life.
Don't wear that scarf. Remember we got that example.
Exactly, and then it's like,
that's quite harmless. Yeah.
But maybe they said something like, "Oh fuck, I can't even think about the stuff you would say to go down that." To be honest, but there is a culture of like lab behavior and stuff, and this is the issue I have with the term banter to cover up allegations of bullying or harassment. It's possible. I know context is everything, but you'd expect better from those that are meant to uphold the law at the most granular level. Like, conduct yourself with the way you should be conducting the law.
Absolutely. Obviously, on the back end of when we discussed about what's his name, Atik Rafiq, the cricketer.
The what? Sorry, the cricketer.
Cricketer. Yeah, Atik Rafiq. The banter.
Through
one
Rafiq,
lens, through one lens, this is clearly just a joke, and then like we can call you the P word, or we can do this, whatever. Come on, have a drink, come to clubhouse, whatever. And you're right, but it is all context, man. If the other side, it's not being perceived in that way, then you can't just label it banter. Banter has to be a two-way thing, man. I cuss your IBS. I know it's real. I still cuss it anyway. Banter, innit? But
I can accept that as banter compared to like something way more nefarious or dodgy.
No, but then at the same time, if you ever said to me like, look, I don't find it funny. I've had friends say that, in the past.
I've said that to you before. You said some stuff to me and it's been like out of order. I'm like, oh, stop saying it. And you're like, okay, cool. Right.
I'm trying to think of what I said to you, but
I mean, I'm not going to bring it up on air, but I have said that to you before. Right. I know I have.
Okay.
And I'm sure I've said it to other people as well. It shows character in people that you say it to and they stop and they let it go. And then they change their behavior, not change their behavior, but they just don't. They don't say those. They just don't say that stuff to you anymore because it can hurt you, I guess, right?
Exactly. Look, there's 2 points to any conversation. The one is intention, but sometimes irrespective of intention. So my intention could be good, but if it still makes the other person feel uncomfortable or sad or upset, then even intention isn't important. Intention is the first thing you look at. The second thing is how does the other person feel? They may change when you explain the intention. They may not, and then it's like, okay, call it a day.
You know that book you got me, The Rules of People? Yeah, I've been reading it. And in there, he covers two specific differences He said, one, there's a separate part. There's one page about like teasing, and the next page about bullying.
Yes.
And it's like you flip the page and you read back and forth, and it says there's a big scope in difference. And what it basically says is that people that tease you kind of do it because they like you. Like teasing somebody is different to bullying somebody.
We know
that's the difference. So when you
like
tease me about IBS, that's cool. Like I laugh at it. I'm like, yeah, it's funny, cool, whatever.
You laugh at it, do you? You don't laugh.
I mean, I can laugh at it because it's coming from grass. You, yeah. Grass, laugh. I laugh at it, mate. Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Good lad.
But yeah, I can sit and crack jokes about it. But then when it comes on to the next page, which is picking on someone for their looks, behavior, pattern, etc., and
Indy,
you're not
losing
really that
your
side
hair.
of them. I mean, you are losing your hair. That's just a matter of fact. But yeah, right. But when it comes to like really hurting someone's feelings and stuff, that's when it gets a bit like woozy.
Yeah.
Gets woozy. And there is a distinction to be drawn between the two. And you have to iron that out before entering that grey area. You have to have that kind of feel with that person. I know that's hard, and that depends on person to person.
But some people take that leap, go there. Don't. Yeah, exactly. They're so presumptive. Like I have a really good friend from uni who I met with after ages, and he knew someone I knew as well, and they ended up. So I know them both separately, but they ended up being on stag together. And he goes, "This guy like barely knows me, and he just like cussing me about my weight and like just saying I'm more and I'm fat and stuff. Like 0 to 100, like you don't know me. How can you just go there?" And some people are so presumptive, and that's what I don't get. That's where emotional IQ and being sensitive to situation is important. Being witty is a different thing. Being a dickhead and just saying things inappropriate.
So what would you classify as witty, and what would you classify as dickhead then?
I don't think it's so much as based on it. Sometimes I think it's less content. I think it's the depth of the relationship you have. So in that situation about what I just told you, if I'm really tight with the bunda and I call him Morta anyway, it might be okay, right? Because we've had that thing to know that this is an acceptable level or whatever. When you don't know, then it actually the content and there's no relationship. I think that's for me, that's the thing. But as I've
got to have credit in the bank.
You got to have credit in the bank. You normally, the way I have it is you test it, don't you? Like as in you don't push people. I think that sounds obviously a bit wrong, but I think say I'm sitting with you and we're at your house or your flat, whatever, and we're chilling and we're having jokes, right? Like this isn't pre-planned. I don't write, you shouldn't go into a conversation pre-planned.
Yeah, you shouldn't go into a conversation. I'm going to nail this, and this.
Yeah. I've got these like points written down. But if the opportunity presents itself and it's riffing on something that's tangent based, then often, I may say something and test it, and then you tell us to stop breathing, and you get very angry, and then the board makes a decision that we want to take you off the podcast for anger issues. And that makes you even more angry, and then where do we go from there? And then I play a mix, and then after playing the mix, you get more angry, and then you make me sleep.
Very specific example you're giving here that 99% of the audience will not understand. But anyway, I get your point. Yeah,
but yeah, and I feel as I've got older now, my scope for people can say harmful things to me, or they can say it kind of with like double meaning or like malintention, right? But my ability to look at where is this coming from, where's your headspace out? Why are you saying it? Often means that actually, rather than being angry at people, I pity them, man. It's just like.
So you draw from the empathy bucket.
It's not no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if somebody's malicious and trying to be evil towards me, I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Like there's no like I'm not going to give you anything on that. And it's like I'm pitying you. It's like you coming from a dark place because you just have nothing else, man, and you want to lash out. So be it, man. But I'm not going to give you my energy and time now. I just leave. That's fine. Done. That my headspace now isn't to get angry.
But you do feel empathy towards them for feeling that way. And you try and think,
okay, I see your point.
What's causing you to exhibit these specific behavior patterns?
Yes. Now, if it's someone who's very close to me, then obviously it's not an issue where you can not be in their space, right? Someone you don't know, you don't care, it's fine. You can just, if it's like, say you're at a party and you're mingling and someone's being a dickhead, so I don't have to spend time.
You can step out of the situation, probably won't see him again. Yeah, but when it's someone close to you, it's difficult.
Close, then you kind of need to address it, and then you really do need to get into, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Sometimes Shindy will be a bit snappy, and I'm like, you're snapping at me, but you're obviously not angry at me. So what is it? Let's just get into that.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and it comes to the surface, and it's fine. You have a conversation, but the wisdom is we don't like being, like oh, why are you getting angry at me? What have I done? That's the thing, isn't it? What have
Yeah,
I done?
yeah.
That's what you're thinking. You might say it. But as soon as you can get under, well, what is it? And you have a discussion, and often it just neutralize the situation. Say in the same way, patients are often angry. What is happening? When will I be seen? You know, these are like common things, or just
Mm.
generally angry. It's like, okay. So my neutralizing question number one is, what would you like to happen right now for you to feel better?
Mm.
What can I do for you right now that will make you feel better? Get out what they actually want, not what they're saying they want, what they actually want, and now they're interested. Then I'll give them options. Everything is option based in life. You can do this or this. What do you prefer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Banter.
Anyway, banter. We
Yeah,
always touch on this
banter.
here and there in the podcast, but I think it's important because it's a nuanced, ongoing topic, isn't it? It's not really one you can just nail down with just one set example or one
Rules. There's no
set
rules.
viewpoint or one
Yeah,
set
yeah,
book
yeah.
of rules. It doesn't work. It's
No.
just the more you sort of read and discuss these things, the greater your understanding can potentially build behind it.
Yeah, and like that point I said about being witty, I think if I'm gonna have a dig at you, I will do it. I'll try and do it in a soft way. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'll never swear at you. I don't need to swear at you. I don't need to belittle you. It's not about that.
Mm.
What I do most when I'm having banter with somebody is I'll do impressions of them. That's what I enjoy doing
Yeah,
most.
yeah, yeah.
Right? I enjoy doing impressions the most. And if they reciprocate, then there is some of them feeling like, oh, okay, yeah, actually, that's quite funny. I've seen him do it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of my go-to. Wit, I think that's where the wit comes in. And like you said, not rehearsed, tangent based.
Tangent based.
Tangent based.
So in summary, the police force is fucked basically, isn't it? So if you want to protect your house, you buy a gun and keep a baseball bat near your bed, and you'll be all right. That's pretty much all I can tell you.
I think everyone should keep weapons in the house. If you've seen Rise of the Foot Soldier, there's a really good scene right at the end. The original.
Everyone
one.
should what?
There's a film called Rise of the Foot Soldier. I think
No,
it's
no,
always
no.
just called Foot Soldier.
You said I think everyone should what?
Keep weapons placed in the house. And
Oh,
by
yeah,
weapons,
yeah.
I don't mean like banduk. I don't mean like that. I just mean things like you said, like a baseball bat, hockey stick, things that can be used
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
quickly in kind of strategic positions where if you needed it, bang, you know it's there, you get it out. Okay.
Strategic positions is the one, man. Like even at my house in my house in Birmingham, I was gonna say, my mum and dad's house, yeah. When I've been there and I'm like, Dad, why is this certain thing here? He said, in case something happens in the house, I know it's there. And I'm like, I've never seen you lift this. He said, yeah, but it lives there. I know where it lives. And I'm like,
it sounds like a snake, like anaconda. He doesn't pull out his
yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm not moving this ever because the one time you're going to need it and it's not there, you're going to chop my head off. So I'm not going to do that, right?
Okay, we know what that is now then.
It might be, it might not, right? But yeah, yeah.
Man.
So I understand that.
I have a theory.
I
think that's why your dad has all those pens in his pocket. Poison pens in it.
Poison pens. Yeah.
He's ready, man. He's ready, man.
You know what? Pens are kind of sharp to stab people with, you know.
Listen, if you know where you're going,
you know where you're going in the neck.
Know where you're going.
Soft spot, man. That's it.
But remember, the whole point, if you ever get in a situation like that, is not to. We're not trying to kill anyone.
It's not to
no,
kill,
exactly.
So
you want to get away, and that's the other key thing that people don't understand. So do enough that allows you to escape.
Yeah,
that's always the key, right?
Yeah. So, I'm reading a book by the Secret Barrister that's sort of talking about archaic old laws and famous cases that are going around. And one of them is about self-defense, and it says if somebody breaks into your home, you are allowed to protect yourself and fight back, even though there's some articles that have been put out saying you were not able to. When you look at the extent of what happened in that case in particular, they're premeditated attacks on intruders coming into the house, not an intruder came into your house and you tried to protect yourself. So
premeditated attacks. How did they know the intruder was going to come in?
So they do things like potentially sit there waiting in the darkness for somebody to come in, and then they would essentially annihilate them. That's what they would do.
But that's not premeditated because you didn't know he was
that is premeditated because if you draw out a crime scene and someone sat there with a gun in their hand waiting for them to come in, and then they see them on the property and they chase after them and start shooting them, that's premeditated. Yeah. If someone steps into your property, into your house, and you notice they're in your house and then you take actions, you're protected under all means. But it's when you sit there in the dark waiting for someone to attack you, that's when it's like, okay, this is no longer you protecting yourself. This is you prepping yourself to annihilate someone, right?
I get your point. I just don't know how in that situation they knew the burglar was going to come. That's a bit
You
weird.
need to read the book. There's a few examples of it, and they've been picked up by like mainstream media, newspapers looking for clicks, saying you can't protect yourself in the house anymore. When the case was nothing like that at all, and it was simply a guy waiting in the dark to kill someone, basically. So yeah,
Nobody went in his house again.
no, but bear that in mind in the future. You can protect yourself, people. You can, I promise. Just
There's something about minimum, not minimum force. It's you have to use the least amount of force needed to.
they don't. They
No?
don't. No, if you cannot determine how hard you're going to hit someone the first time you hit them. This is what he said in the book. He said you can hit someone. He can hit somebody as hard as you want.
Anywhere.
No.
In the head.
Yeah, anywhere on the first strike. If you hit them repeatedly afterwards, that is now no longer self-defense. Okay, but if you strike someone on the head and they've collapsed on the floor and they're done, and you proceed to beat the shit out of them, that's different. Okay, but if you knock someone on the head and they die because they were in your house, you're not going to get prosecuted. You're fine. It's not manslaughter. You're protecting yourself. I was like, oh, I didn't know that, because I thought minimum force.
Yeah,
it's not minimum force, because when you're pent up with fear and anger and anxiety, you don't know how much force you're going to employ on someone.
Yeah, absolutely true. Again, because if you did, premeditated. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, we've digressed hard. So going on to that thing, keeping in topic in tune with the public forces or the government or whatever.